For every adventure, the podcast that dives deep into everything outdoor. In today's episode, we discuss 4x4, everything you need for a successful trip, the community you become a part of, and all the fun things that go along with it.
After you've listened to this, you're going to be ready for like an overland adventure. I know I am. And we have an expert here today. It's Johan, and he's going to give you some exciting tips and a few stories as well that he's experienced. So you need to tune in for this one.
For every adventure, an outdoor podcast experience brought to you by Outdoor Warehouse. Hey, welcome to the podcast. It's For Every Adventure. I'm Kyle. Hey, Chanel.
How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So today I'm excited. Well, I'm excited for every episode, but
You're
this
a world
one's going to be
champion,
great.
Kyle.
I know.
That's why you're so excited.
I was trying not to bring it in because I don't know why. But yes, how are you, champ? Huh?
Great, man. I'm surprised not to see you in green, like forever, for the next 4 years.
Well, we can definitely make a plan. Today, we are going off-road, 4x4. It's going to be a real fun chat. But first, we need to find out how much experience we have in this hobby or activity.
This is always the fun part.
So as a driver, nothing.
You're zero.
As a passenger, I have some experience.
Yeah, same here.
Yes, I have one that I shared with you, which was an interesting one. I'm going to let you tell that story.
Oh, really now? Okay.
But the other one, I was doing technical for a radio broadcast in Porterville, close to Porterville, just outside, probably like a Landbouwfees or something for the town. And they set up a great 4x4 course there. And I was obviously in. I wanted to go for a ride. I got in the vehicle, got my phone out because I'm going to take a video now of what we're going to do on this obstacle course. It wasn't long and that phone was not in my hand anymore. It just fell somewhere in the vehicle.
Was that rough? Okay.
Yes, and you don't expect the angles you go on. You know what I mean? So I was thinking, this phone is going to fall out of a window or something. It's not going to make it. I did get the phone back. It was a bit cracked, but the video kept playing, I think. So that was solidly useless.
That sounds like a good experience.
It was a lot of fun.
I had a similar one on dunes near Kakamas.
Okay.
So at first I was watching these people do this, like go up these dunes, and I was like, no, I don't think I could do that. But doing it, I think I blocked most of it out. It was that scary.
Really?
So, yes.
I found it exhilarating.
Really?
100% exhilarating.
I think the difference is when you go with people and you kind of know they know what they're doing. But if you get a sense of like, oh nee, wag 'n bietjie, hierdie ouens, they're just in it for the excitement of it.
Yes.
I think that's what stressed me out. It wasn't professionals.
That makes it more exciting. Living on the edge. So the other adventure we had, we used to do a drive show, and the sponsor for this drive show was a car place. They sold vehicles.
Yeah.
We're not going to name it, but they took us in one of their newer vehicles to go play in the snow, basically. It was a cold winter.
Fantastic.
Yes, we went to Matroosberg, right?
Yes.
So your son came with?
Both of my sons, they're great passengers, by the way. But someone decided that day to give them hot chocolate, like early in the morning. Never had any problems with these boys before, but that day, in the brand new vehicle.
Nice, the new vehicle smell. The leather.
So, needless to say, the hot chocolate didn't stay in. And we had to spend the whole day with the smell. Poor Carl, I've never felt so embarrassed in my life. But
I was okay.
You managed. And I think it was quite a good experience for you now that you're a dad. You know, you can deal with these things.
Yeah, I don't know. I was fine with it. But I don't know how other people felt whose new car it was.
I don't know.
And we actually got stuck in the snow because it was narrow passages we had to go through. And we got stuck and someone else had to sort of pull us out of
That's not how I remember it. I thought we were the heroes. We were pulling other people out the snow.
Oh, no.
It was a fantastic experience. And also we wouldn't have been able to do that had we not been in one of those wonderful 4x4 vehicles.
Exactly.
So it's quite a thing. But I must tell you, Carl, one more thing that I've experienced is I was invited onto one of these like technical tracks in 4x4 vehicles. And that was very interesting because now you're with the people that really know what they're doing and they want to show off.
Yeah.
So it's mud everywhere and it's like so exciting.
Yes, please.
Sort of these donut type turns and, you know, deep ditches and things. So I must say I enjoy that. But for me, it's more, I think I would like the whole journey of 4x4ing more than the whole technical part.
So that's it. I was thinking, what would it take for me to want to become part of the 4x4 community? And that's the first point. It's a community you become a part of. You sort of have to check the ego at the door and then go into the course, because you can't make mistakes. You can't be brave for the boys and then you influence someone else.
Yeah, and you're going to lose a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing. And the other thing about 4x4ing that really interests me is the length and the depth of adventure you can go on. So I'm thinking, save some money up, make sure you've got the right vehicle. And then when you're done working, when you have time for yourself, what a great way to spend those latter years.
The golden years.
Traveling where you want to go. Because a 4x4 can take you places that maybe other vehicles or other ways of traveling cannot take you. You can go on, in the arts, they talk about a magnum opus, like a piece of music or literature. You think of Lord of the Rings, that's a magnum opus. The Dark Tower for Stephen King, it's his magnum opus. You can have your magnum opus adventure with a 4x4 because you can decide, I'm going to go from Cape Town to Cairo. And what a long journey that is. What a massive experience that can be. And I think 4x4 is definitely one of the few ways you can have that grand, life-changing adventure.
Oh, wow. You're making it sound exciting already.
Yes, cannot wait. We've got a wonderful guest who we're going to introduce very, very soon. So, buckle up.
Let's go.
The seasons are turning, and here at Outdoor Warehouse, we are getting ready for the summer sun and outdoor cooking. Keep your food items cool and fresh with our amazing assortment of cooler boxes, fridges, freezers, and thermoelectric coolers. And keep the fire burning with our braai essentials like grids, bread pots, and gas lighters. Make summer cooking easy and affordable, no matter where the adventure takes you this summer. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. For every adventure. The official Outdoor Warehouse podcast that brings you everything you need to know for your next adventure.
Now that we're all buckled in, we've got a guest here with us today. His name is Johan Cornelissen. And I think I'd describe him as a 4x4 off-roading enthusiast. He's got so much experience, so we're really happy to have you here, Johan. Welkom.
Thank you, Chanel. That's appreciated.
So I think the best place to start is at the beginning. How did you get into 4x4ing?
I think for me the biggest thing was that we have our interpret Johan. I was watching this program many, many years ago where he was doing voetspore op die strand. And the fact that he was doing sand trips and eventually ended up in the Namib deserts and playing Namib desert and playing in the dunes, and what he did with the vehicle and what he experienced. But not only the driving bit and the technical bit, but what you learn from it, like Elizabeth Bay, and you look at all those settlement that's there that's totally been abandoned as a result of people moving out and the inhospitality. So I always wanted to. This is what I want to do. And then a couple of years later, I was working for a company in Pretoria, and my boss decided that he would like to bless me with a company vehicle. And he said, what would you like? And I said, a 4x4. And he said, okay, what would you like? I said, I haven't got a clue. And we shopped around and looked around, and I eventually ended up with a Jeep, which is probably one of the best decisions that I've made from a vehicle point of view, because that vehicle is just so capable. Not that there are any vehicles that's not capable. It's what you do with the vehicle and what you know about the vehicle. I did a couple of courses, understand a little bit more, and I said, I'm off to my first adventure. My first adventure was the Namib Dunes, and it was absolutely awesome. We did the Faces of the Namib trip, and as you start in solitaire and you move towards the sea, you see how the faces, how the color of the dunes change as a result of that. And to wake up in the middle of the desert, you know that 60 kilometers west, northeast, there's nobody, and it's fine dew on your vehicle, and it's just absolutely quiet, and all that it does, it just sparks more and more and more. And then I got into diving, and And we spend every second weekend in Sudan or Punta Monagan or Punta de Oro. And at that stage, you needed a 4x4 to get there. And I said, yes, I have the vehicle. So it just grew from there. And then, like I said, I did a couple of courses just to understand what my vehicle can do and what my capabilities are. I've always been not say a bangyan, but always err on side of caution.
Yes.
But as you grow more and you understand your vehicle more, and you join a club, which I eventually did. I joined the Jeep Club. I moved to Cape Town and back to Cape Town in 2011. I joined the Jeep Club, and like I said, the community, people that you would never have met in any way of life because you're not related to them, you don't work with them, but all of a sudden you've got this camaraderie, which is stemmed from the fact that everybody's got a 4x4, in this case a Jeep. And it was just so amazing what we've learned. And the mindset of the club is always that we never go out to break our vehicles. We try and explore something new. Have you done it before? Have you not done it before? And trying to push your own limitations. We know that the vehicles are capable. And it's just, how much do you trust your vehicle? And how much do you trust yourself in the end to do this thing? So, I think that's the long and the short of it. I've been doing this for the last, I think, 13, 14 years. And I've done many kilometers on my vehicles in the past, and that's just something that I can look at. I think the if you want to you use the word magnus opus, but magnus opus is a single event. But for me, the 4x4ing and the excursions and what I've done, it's a continuous journey. And I think this thing it's so cliche, but life's not a destination; it's a journey. That for me, the 4x4 experience, it's a journey, a continuous journey, and learning and seeing what's going on. And the big thing is that when you do 4x4, it's not just to go in and say, what have I encountered? What have I overcome? Obviously, that's important because it gives you a boost and it gives you your not your self-esteem, but your you know that what your capabilities are. But where do you 4x4? If you go to Nama, if you go to Kalahari, or you go up the West Coast, what can you learn from the environment? What's new in the environment that you've not been encountered before? Remember, we all start jobbies. So we're sitting here and we're in the concrete jungle, and the 4x4 is a way of getting away. Like you said, with the 4x4, you can just go that extra bit. I can get from A to B, but I can do it the hard way too if I want to be. So let's do it the hard way. And it's to get to places where people don't normally go.
Yes.
And where are you now and what's significant? So it's a continuous learning process and understanding your vehicle and the people that's with you. And obviously when you advance in the club, there's always new people. What can you teach them? What do they feel the same excitement that you've got? And you want them to walk away and say, this was really great, or we want to do the next thing.
Yeah, I can see the passion.
Yeah, there's a lot of passion here. I just, for myself, and I think there's others also wondering that, we're not experts, but is there a difference between overlanding, off-roading, 4x4ing, and then some people say four-wheel driving? So is it like technical terms, or does it all fall under the same banner?
It's not a difficult question to answer. Let's start overlanding. I think overlanding is the better one to say, is that you are going to places that's accessible or relatively inaccessible, and you need to sustain yourself. That's overlanding. So you can go to Botswana and do the road thing, but you're traveling from one place to another place to get there and camp, etc. That's overlanding for me.
I see. Okay.
4x4ing is when you there's a route, very simple one, up the road here, Welgelegen. It's a grade 3, grade 4 track, and that's, you go out for the day and you're trying to conquer that route. That to me is 4x4, serious 4x4ing. Then with off-roading, off-roading is when just off the tar. So you can go off-road with a car as well. But that to me is, to a lesser extent, less descriptive than actual 4x4ing and overlanding. And sometimes you do overlanding, but you need a 4x4.
Yeah.
So there's a encompassing, but also separation.
That makes sense.
Yes. A few top tips for beginners like Chanel and I. Where do we start? What do we need to get going? And what research do we need to do?
A 4x4.
Yeah. So,
Let's start there.
So I've got the 4x4. What's next?
If I have a look at, just from my own experience and what the do's and don'ts, I would say, first of all, get to know your vehicle. What your vehicle can do. also try and figure out at the same time what your capabilities are. Do you understand what the vehicle can do? And the first thing what I did for me is that I went on a course. I did an off-road course, a beginners, then I did an advanced course, and then the thing is practice, because you sometimes forget going on to off-road or to a gravel road, and then you get a puncture, and then say, oh, what have I done? Oh, I should have let my tires down. Those type of things. I think that the big thing is just to try and get to know your vehicle and what possible means are there to do a vehicle. And for me, in the end, it was better to join the club. And then I met a lot of people, but they taught me a lot. Also, it gave me a lot of self-confidence to not necessarily lead people, but to know what I can do. And the thing is, don't be afraid to ask. What can your vehicle do? And can I do this? And how do I do this? And listen as the guys teach you, talk. And when the guys sit around the campfire and they talk, listen to what they're saying. What have we done? What should you have done differently, etc. I think that for me be the bottom line.
If you're part of this club, do you send everyone for a course, or do some people just learn from each other?
They learn. We try to transfer knowledge from one generation to the next generation. There's a lot of people that hasn't done the course, but because of the experience. If I have a look at our committee, for example, we've probably got about 120, 150 years worth of experience of 4x4 in various routes, vehicles, etc. So there's always a lot of knowledge and suck the knowledge. Just try and get as much information and grow and practice. If you are thinking, if you've got a new 4x4 vehicle, no matter what it is, find out what clubs are around you. Do a bit of investigation and go see them. We at the Jeep Club have as a policy that if you want to join the club, your first event's free. Come along and see what we can do. And if you say I can't do this, then that's fine. Yeah. You're not going to be judged as a result of it. But as you grow, and I take the dunes as an example. I remember doing that when I did the NAMA for the first time. Is that you know you're going to be confronted with these massive high dunes, and what are you going to do with your vehicle? And then what was clever about that is that they took you slowly, and by day 3 you realize, hey, see what I've conquered, just because everybody's doing it, and they start off slowly. Yes. Don't try and do if you go out on a route and you know it's a 4 or 5, because they'll tell you, don't do that. Try and do that immediately, because you're going to walk away and say, I will never do this again. I'm going to break my vehicle. Start off slowly. Start off slowly and get to know the basics, and then take it from there.
When it comes to the inevitable issues you're going to have with the vehicle, like you mentioned, breaking something, how much technical knowledge do you need to maintain those brakes?
I must admit I do not have a lot of technical knowledge of my own vehicle. I know what to do, how to check the oil and all those type of things. But as you practice, as you grow with the vehicle and with the club, you find out and listen to what other guys are saying. What's nice about the Jeep is that you don't only have a South African experience, you have the American experience as well. So if you get into a position where you're not sure what's happening with the vehicle, read up on about it. What do they say? And I take, for me, a classic example was the fact that I kept on having problems with my vehicle's battery after an excursion, and I realized that some of the pillars are too small for the actual mount to fit on. So change the mount, or change the pillar, or tie your battery down. Those type of things. But as you go along, you learn. Fortunately, with us at the club, the guys that's on the committee and have the experience and lead these things, they have a lot of mechanical knowledge as well. So it's very easy to tap in from them and ask the questions. If we were to do, I'm using Welgelegen, for example, what are you going to be exposed to? What do I need to look out for? If you're doing overlanding 3, 4, 5 day trips, ask the guys, what are the possibilities something could go wrong and what can go wrong? And try and preempt that to a realistic. But I think the biggest thing is that when you go out on an excursion, make sure your vehicle is in a good roadworthy condition. Let's give it a thorough check. All your boots are nicely sealed, everything's oil, etc., and all your oil's been filled up, etc. But I don't think you necessarily need to come back to your question. Necessarily, you have to an extreme knowledge of your vehicle. Just the basics and listen to what the other guys are saying.
And also, I mean, you avoid the mistakes. Eh?
Yes, you avoid the mistakes, but also the great part of being in a club is someone's going to have a solution
That's
for you.
true.
It's a broad range of knowledge.
Somebody
that you
will
can
hold
tap
your
into.
hand. Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you do these trips, is it solo trips ever, or is it mostly with other vehicles?
I've done a couple of solo ones, but the last couple of years, it's good to have a companion to talk to.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, otherwise you talk to your phone, you talk to the radio, or but there's nobody here. And then it's great to have a companion that enjoys the same outlook of life on life and how to experience it. So it's the camaraderie as well as the companionship. It's a good thing. It's a great thing for me.
Any unwritten rules or written rules for the clubs? Like when you go out, you obviously need to respect the guy in front of you and behind you.
I think for us, the big thing is make sure that you don't lose the guy behind you, because if you lose the guy behind you, something can go wrong.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is leave your ego at the gate.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said just now, is that it's a great equalizer, and you go in with this with an open mind and listen to the experienced guys. I think that will be the biggest thing. And also there's subtle things like don't drive within a couple of meters from the guy behind you, because if he's going to stop, you're going to be on his backside, and how you're going to get out of that, etc. So just I think normal rules of the road apply, but at the same time, just listen again. The guys will, for us in the club, we always advise that we're going through this obstacle. This is what's going to happen. Follow your line, or there'll be somewhere that'll show you where you need to go.
It seems like common sense is a big part of it, eh?
Yes.
And then, in terms of different terrains, do you plan differently if you're going on a sort of a sand trip as opposed to a rocky terrain? Do you plan differently for your trip in terms of the vehicle?
Not necessarily, because your vehicle's capable, regardless whether it's rocks or sand. I think it is more of a case of if you're doing 2 to 3 days, where are you going to camp? Or are you going to stay in a chalet? That's the biggest planning sign for me.
Okay.
From a vehicle point of view, if my vehicle's capable and it's a good condition, I know that I can tackle rocks, sand, mud, whatever. I don't have to worry about that. But it's where do I stay? And then the other thing as well is making sure that you've got enough water and enough fuel. Because sometimes you are far away, like in the middle of a desert, and you haven't got extra fuel, or you haven't got enough fuel. I think that would be the biggest thing that I would think is your fuel and your water.
Okay. I suppose it also depends on what your outset is. Like, are you going to conquer this specific terrain, or are you going for the trip, for the journey?
Yes, very much so. I think that for me, it's always the trip. It's not just getting there. It's the whole experience of what do you see along the way? Where do I stop? Do I stop at Pitsonnewater? What's funny about Pitsonnewater? What don't I know about Pitsonnewater? For example, I'm just using it as an example, but trying to learn find out where you're going, learn about the environment and the people and the animals, for example.
Definitely. Boys, ons gaan Pofadder toe. Waar gaan ons eet?
Ja, Wimpie en een.
So, take me through a typical event, like a typical day at a 4x4 event, and how often does it happen?
Okay, with the club, we do an average of one a month.
Okay.
And every 3 months we do a weekend away.
Okay.
And then we will have 1 or 2 special trips during the year. For example, this club this year, we're doing a 6-day excursion to Dunes outside Kleinpella in February next year. Never done that. So looking forward to that one.
Awesome.
And we also in August over Women's Day we're going up the West Coast, staying in the Namaka Park, doing those beach camps there. But for my 4x4 trip during the month, for us, how it works, you would you would go to the website. As a member, you have access to the website. You would book, and then you get the notifications. You'll be added to a WhatsApp group. They'll tell you, be there that time.
Yeah.
And then when we get to the event, the biggest thing is the driver's briefing. Making sure who's in charge, who's going to lead, who's going to sweep, etc., etc. And then what can you expect from the actual trip, and what to look out for. We encourage the guys to have radios. The Jeep covers, it's got its own frequency, so we can communicate with one another. But it's basically getting to a point. What's going to happen? Who's going to lead? Who's going to sweep? And if something goes wrong, who are we going to contact?
What does that mean, the leading and the sweeping?
Okay, so you have, in our case, we have the most experienced member of the outing will normally lead the convoy, because he's the one that will see some things maybe washed away, some things flooded, etc., and he will then make the call as to what needs to be done. Once he's through the course or through the obstacle, he would then either say, guys, this is what I've seen, this is what I felt, this is what I've done, just watch your line, or he will get out and say, okay, follow my line, I'll guide you. And then we have the guy who sweep at the back. He'll make sure that all the distractors are in, and everybody gets alle agter ons kom in die kraal in the end. So and then we have and what we try to do in our case is we try and put our committee members, who's some of our experienced members, in between, just so that they can also learn and also take responsibility of the guys around them, behind them and in front of them, and just to make sure that there's no concertina effect. We're trying to keep everybody together. And also the other thing as well is that our members, our committee members in this case, are all experienced recovery personnel and first aiders as well. So if something goes wrong, somebody gets stuck, but it's a case where if somebody gets stuck or there's a problem, everybody is normally there to help. Okay. So and then it's difficult who's in charge, and that's what the committee does before. This is your responsibility. So if there's a hang up, etc., you will take charge, and everybody will follow his or her lead.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation like that, where something goes a little wrong and you need to make a plan now?
Oh yes, my biggest, not a nightmare, but it was a very hair-raising. As we went to Cape Pine outside Gebrouw a couple of months back, about a year back, and we were exploring a route for our annual Topless Day. The vehicles, not the women. I need to say that because I saw.
Clarify. I was like, the what day?
I saw the expression on your face, so I thought, no, I just need to clarify it. And I ended up being the sweeper, and then we had to turn around because, according to the route map that we had, we couldn't go any further. So I had to turn around, and I ended up being the leader. And we were talking about what we should do, and we decided we're going to go down this route. Not knowing it was washed away. I ended up probably about 200, 300 meters down this track, and it was nowhere to go. I couldn't go anywhere. Literally, if I opened the door, I would step down a break probably about 10, 15 meters down.
Oh, that's
and I had probably about 30 centimeters on the other side of. So it was okay. What do we do now? Fortunately, the experienced guys were with me. They actually stopped and they came down and we made a plan. We turned the vehicle around. It took us 2 hours to turn the vehicle around, and we went back all the way up Building Road as we're going. And that was pretty scary.
How long did that process take to get you out of there?
About 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. And like centimeter by centimeter, you do the turn.
We literally reversed the vehicle over the precipice, where the overhang, where the back wheels of the vehicle would be standing on the edge of the precipice, and the rest of the vehicles on the precipice, over the precipice.
Yeah.
But it's a case of just focus what's in front of you. Focus on what you need to do and trust the people.
Yes.
And fortunately, the guys that I had with me, I would trust them with my life. And we got through there. Like I said, it took us 2 hours to get. It's just under 2 hours to get out. To get out there, but it was one of those things where you got out. And it's like everything's pumping. I just need to calm down, sort of. But what was nice about it for me was the fact that we did it.
Yeah,
we got out there, and it was just by being calm, talking to each other, and say, what are we going to do, and then obviously trusting your spotters.
Wow, I can't imagine standing there and you're like, I don't want to lose my vehicle here. And what's the plan? What if we don't get the vehicle out? So being calm and having
I think the biggest thing there is that you need to know is that when you do stuff like this, never be alone.
Yes.
Never be on your own, because you might need an anchor, you might need to pull out, or whatever the case might be. But I think if it was me on my own, I would have phoned everybody and say, please come and help me. But fortunately, it's like, there's no evacuation by helicopter here, and I need to take my vehicle home. That's the other thing as well, is when you go on a route, remember you've got to drive this vehicle home.
Yes.
So don't put yourself and the vehicle into a position whereby you can't do that.
Exactly.
And the repercussions from that decision. So just remember, I need to drive this thing home.
Yes.
Any favorite destinations you've visited and you would maybe like to visit in the future?
Yes, there are quite a few that I'd like to visit. Let's say favorite destination. I think my best excursions would be the Namib Desert. I think that was brilliant. That was, if you say we're leaving tomorrow, I say when can I go? Okay, yeah.
What is it about the Namib Desert?
I think the isolation and the desolation of everything. It's just so quiet. And
did you find any towns that you didn't know would be there? Ghost towns?
We visited like 2 ghost towns, Grunewalds and what is the other one? It was just, there's nothing there, but people lived there.
Yes.
And you still find there's one caretaker's house in this little town that's left exactly the same way that he left it, like how many years ago? 80 years ago, 90 years ago.
Wow.
And everything's just rusted, but there's a bath, there's a tap and everything. There's still some cooking utensils standing around. That's amazing to see that. And what's nice about that specific place is that there's a society that looks after them. So whatever they pick up along the way, they bring to this little foreman's house, and everything's stored in there. So you find the weirdest things, like glass bottles, etc., etc. I think the isolation and also the fact that, you know what, I did this. I did this because there's some serious obstacles that dunes I need to get across. I think that will be my first one. My second one is always the Namakwa West Coast National Park. I just love the sea, the sand, and again the isolation. It's like it's just far away, and there's only a few people can get there.
Yeah.
Guys with the 4x4 that can get there. So I think that favorite destinations to visit. I'd like to do a proper Botswana trip.
Okay.
Chobe, to the Kobu Island there. I think that'll be a one. That's one on the bucket.
Okay.
Bucket list. I've done most of them, but I'll do those that I've done. I'll do it again anytime. So just because I can, and I enjoyed it. I haven't had a bad experience on a 4x4 trip per se.
What type of wild life have you encountered on your trips? You say that it's a bit desolate in the Namib Desert, but surely you've had some type of animal stare you down? Yeah, I think the one that you see most, and something that I also would like to see at some stage, is the elephants of the Namib Desert. But have never been close to them or seen them. Okay. But you see a lot of oryx, gemsbok, roaming around, and it's just so amazing. If you then when the guys start talking about how this gemsbok survive in the desert, whereby he reduces the concentration of his urine to such an extent that he reuses the water. Yeah. So that by the time he treats his urine, it's basically a paste. Wow. That's how he operates with the water. I think gemsbok in the Namib Desert, obviously your chameleons and your little lizards and snakes. I've seen all of those. But I think the one where I saw the most amount of animals was the Kalahari, lions. Tigers, obviously all the buck that you can think of. What's the rule when you see a lion staring at you?
You stay in your car. You stay in your car because you don't know. The rule is, in general, stay in your car.
Yeah.
In general, stay in your car. Seen them many times. We were up in Norsop in the camp there, and there was this massive lion male. His head was probably about the size of this table, with the mane and everything. And he literally went and he lied down like 3 meters on the other side of the fence. We flocked to that fence. I think I've taken a beautiful photograph, which is still one of my screensavers. That it's just to see this thing up close in the wild and how he communicates with his pack. And it's just this rumbling that goes down into your chest. You think, I know what it feels like. But I think that's the most amount. Obviously, you see your giraffes and those type of things as well. But for me, one of my favorite animals has always been the gemsbok oryx. So to see one in the wild is beautiful. And then when he looks at you, and then he's like, okay, I've seen you disinterested, and then he trots away. That majesticness of that animal, it's something that just goes to your heart, or for me.
Johan, when you travel like this, do you camp mostly, or do you prefer going into a chalet? Like, what's your go-to?
My go-to is always camping.
Okay.
Although being in a chalet is nice, especially if you want hot water and running water, but all of that, It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to break away and just do something different than being in a house? But camping for me is always the easiest, and most of the time it's the cheapest. Being the only thing about camping overland is that you've got to obviously have all your equipment, whereas you get to a chalet, all that you need to take down is a refrigerator. But I've camped more than I've stayed in a chalet, and I prefer camping in the end. But like if you're going away for like a special weekend and just doing a breakaway, just a quick one, I'll go for a chalet.
You'll go for the luxuries.
Just luxury is it's just a room with a toilet and a shower. I think that's the nice thing about luxury.
And you can take a bit of luxury with you. I mean, there are customizations you can make to your vehicle, a few products that you could use to make life a bit easier on the road. And I think we'll discuss that right after this.
The outdoor life is for everyone. And our clothes are too. It's made to last in the sun, wind and weather. Whether you're fishing, hiking, camping or going to work. Get all your favorite brands like First Ascent, Cape Storm, African Nature, High-Tech and Columbia all under one roof. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. Also shop online.
For Every Adventure podcast, bringing you all the tips and tricks for your next adventure.
So it's always fun to chat about the gear you need to make an adventure just a little bit more fun or easier or whatever. And when it comes to 4x4ing, I think we've got a lot to chat about, Johan.
Yeah, there's quite a few things that you can add to your vehicle, etc. But for me, I think the big thing is depending on where you're going, like I said earlier, where are you going? Have you got enough water? Have you got enough fuel? I think that's probably one of the first things that you would do to modify. For me, I have a long-range tank fitted to my vehicle, but being a short wheelbase Jeep, it's not really a long-range tank. It's probably about a quarter-range tank, if you want to put it that way, because they're quite heavy on juice. But I didn't buy the vehicle for the juice. I bought it for its capabilities. It's fitting extra or having containers that would. That you can store your water and your fuel in. So jerry cans, obviously, and how are you going to mount in your vehicle? If you've got a long wheelbase vehicle, it's relatively easy because you could put it in the back of the vehicle. For me, I don't have a lot of space in the back of my vehicle because it's mostly taken up by a fridge and but on an end, so it goes on the roof rack. Stuff. And then, like I said, if you go camping, obviously you need a tent. And you need to sleep well. Well, that's one of the things that I think it's crucial, especially as you get older. You don't bend so good anymore, so you don't want to wake up the next day and like, oh, gee, what have I done to myself?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I spent a lot of time, and it was actually great fun going shopping for mattresses.
Okay.
I don't prefer the blowdown type because they don't work. And I remember taking my daughter with me to one of the camping places, and I said to her, blow it up. I want to lie on this thing in the middle of the room. And everyone said, "Oh, you're gonna do it." But I had to test drive it. So I think for me, it's where you sleep and what you sleep on. That'll be
That's
critical.
important,
Yeah, very critical. And then if you're not close to a place or not going to a place where there's ablutions, how are you going to shower? I prefer shower. I like to be clean when I go to bed. I bought a brilliant shower tent from Outdoor Warriors a couple of years back, and way to heat it, and how you, but those are things that, like I said also earlier, is that you got to be comfortable.
Yes.
You don't have to be busy camping. You must be camping.
Exactly.
It's what do you need? What would make it easier for you? And then obviously you've got to have a stove and a way to eat. And heat your food up and take your food along. But I think my biggest investment is what I believe, because I can get away with, or I can leave most of it, but I can't be without my fridge. I need a fridge, and even if it's just for water, because if you're out in the desert somewhere and it's like 43 and you climb out of your car and think, oh, what am I? Water, cold water. And you want to say, oh, but what about alcohol? And he said, we as a club don't prescribe to drinking on a route.
But after
when you're sitting at the campfire, there's no,
Yes,
and it's nice to come back to a cold beer. When we've done a hard days of 4x4 and riding.
Yes,
But I think my biggest investment was my fridge. And I'm very glad I did that.
What fridge do you have?
I have a Waco, which is now been replaced by Domatec.
Okay.
A 60-liter one. One is a little freezer compartment and a small general compartment and freezer compartment, which I load full of meat or whatever the case may be. The fridge was my biggest investment, and I think my best investment. So I try to look after it very much. Try and tie it down properly. Doesn't slide around. Doesn't get damaged. And touch wood. It's done me very well for the last, I think, 8 years or so. Yeah.
Well, so now I think for after a long podcasting recording session, we should maybe get a fridge here for the studio. I'm thinking maybe a National Luna or a Snowmaster or something like that. You can get at Outdoor Warehouse.
There's a variety there at Outdoor
Yes,
Warehouse.
yes.
Yeah, there's a very nice variety there. Yeah.
And you've mentioned a lot of things, and I think everything you can get at Outdoor Warehouse.
Yes.
You need a good high lift jack. You can go get that at Outdoor Warehouse. A fridge we mentioned, auxiliary batteries. That's very, very important. At a radio, you can have like the long distance, long range radios. That's what you use, right?
Yeah.
So that's also something you can get at Outdoor Warehouse. Such a great variety, and the website is so user friendly. You just go to outdoorwarehouse.co.za. You type in the search bar what you need, and it pops up the options.
And they deliver. That's even the better.
That's great.
You don't have to go shopping, because you go shopping, it's like, I haven't got this, I haven't got that, I need this, I really need this. And then it becomes an expensive exercise.
That's the thing, eh?
Yeah.
That's when you go to especially a shop like Outdoor Warehouse, it's just you see everything and you're like, Bokkie, het ons nie budget vir dit nie. You start
You walk
negotiating.
away with a 3-part Jaffle pan. You're never going to use this again, but it looks so cool to have one of those.
Yeah.
Do you have a product like that? That's like just a luxury thingy that you like to take with you? A specific like mug or something?
I think for me, yes, I have a special one. It's my kettle.
Okay.
A smaller one, which I also got at Outdoor Warehouse, and with that came a whole set of pots and pans. When I was still a solo traveler, it worked very, very well. Now that I'm a double traveler, you need to just bear that in mind. But I think the kettle, because a nice cup of coffee in the mornings, a nice cup of tea at night, you need to have a decent kettle, and obviously a little stove that goes with it, because you only need this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you need to have control over that as well. So, and I also try to go when I do something like this to go as small as possible, because I haven't got a lot of space. So I need to just like force it in where it needs to be. But a little kettle, a little baby one, makes 2 brilliant cups of tea or coffee if you want to, and a little stove, a little jet stove that you can heat it up. Something that you don't have to wait there, because sometimes when you stop and you say, you know what, I'm not listful for water or whatever, I want a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird, but now you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. You don't want to sit there and like half an hour later, you don't know, waiting for this thing to, and it still hasn't got. So that's why I like this little jet one that I got from Outdoor Warehouse. Within 5 minutes, the water's boiled, sitting there, and everybody's like still scuttling around to what. I'm sitting there in my chair, and I'm having my cup of tea and my cup of
better. Just imagine that sunrise in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Here's what I'm imagining. It's a long day in the desert. It's 43 degrees. The boys are cracking a cold one, and I think I'll have a cup of tea.
I'm talking about the morning coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go morning coffee. Yeah. Morning coffee with a biscuitkie. That's always a Kickstarter.
Yeah, Oma has to come with.
Yeah, definitely. Oma needs to be there. Yeah, definitely.
So Outdoor Warehouse does have a few great options for kettles, but I would recommend the Natural Instinct stainless steel whistling kettle.
Yes.
2 liter.
Yes, so that you can hear it.
Yes, exactly. Thanks a lot. This was a great chat. I'm excited. I would love to go on a 4x4 trip sometime. And again, to me, the biggest appeal has to be the fact that you can get places that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Huh?
All in that adventure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also push your own limits.
Exactly.
And you walk away and you think, what have I achieved now? You go back to the office on Monday, listen, nobody's excited for you because what?
Yeah.
And then I've got it in the pictures. So the biggest thing is that always take pictures. I try to take as much pictures as possible because I can then go back and relive everything. So I remember this one. I remember that. Did you know? Can you? Yeah.
Instagram influencer.
I try not to do that, but just sometimes I always can't help myself. 164 photographs. Good luck, people.
Thanks a lot, Johan, and
Awesome.
all the best for you, and happy adventures with the 4x4.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be on the show. Appreciate it.
Remember to follow us on Spotify or on Apple. We bring out a new episode every 2 weeks, so don't miss it. It's for every adventure.
Join the For Every Adventure podcast as we explore the great outdoors.